YouTube, what is going on? I am so stoked that you're here with me today, and I am so stoked to be sharing with you a recap of my 2025 year. I really wanted to make this video because definitely a lot happened in 2025, and I know some of you have been following my journey for a while. Some of you are new here. I wanted to break down what happened this year, what I'm all about, mistakes that I've made along the way, and changes that I'm excited about for 2026. So for those of you who are new here to the channel, my name is Maddi and I'm a professional stand-up paddleboarding athlete from Welland, Ontario, Canada, and I have had the privilege this year to travel literally all over the world to compete and to train. I've been home now for about a month. Let's jump into it. So starting with January, I traveled to Florida and I spent most of that month in Florida just kind of picking up off-season training, so adding a lot more volume to my workouts and really just kind of building my aerobic base capacity. So going really heavy in the gym, lots of strength work, and also just taking it pretty slow and easy on the water. So keeping up paddling, but making sure that the pace was kind of around a level 2, level 3 heart rate zone. So nothing crazy. And then in February, I actually traveled back home to Canada because my sister had a wedding dress appointment and she called me and said, hey, can you come home and come wedding dress shopping with me? So I did. I hopped on a plane.
Oh.
And you can actually check out that vlog if you haven't seen it yet. It was so much fun to do that with her and have that experience with her. For February, because of that, I was home for a good chunk of that month. Much of my off-season training continued, but it just stayed consistent with land-based cardio because this past February in Canada, it was so cold and the water was frozen, so there was literally no option for me to paddle. So I was home for about 3 weeks, and then at the very beginning of March, I actually had the opportunity to travel to Costa Rica with Seychelles, working for her brand Seychelles Sup, and taking lots of photos and videos and doing a little bit of instruction here and there for our first ever women's Sup and Love and Sup Surf retreat. So we got to spend lots of time in Costa Rica, really just kind of doing a little bit of everything. We got to go hiking, we got to go surfing, we got to teach a lot of different kinds of paddling techniques on the water. So every day was a different sort of race technique, either like working on pivot turns or just techniques specifically, getting in and out of the surf, things like that. That was just so much fun, and we had 18 women on that retreat, so it was massive, and both Seychelles and I learned a lot about hosting a retreat that size and working together to be able to make it an experience of a lifetime. So after Costa Rica, I actually was able to go back to Florida to continue off-season training for another 2.5 weeks. And then once I came back home to Canada, I was home in April, and it was such a quick week. I couldn't believe that I was starting to get ready for the Euro Tour and compete on the Euro Tour. It's been a race series that I've seen kind of from a distance for the past 2 years, and I finally had the opportunity to be able to go over to Spain and compete. So I spent a week at home, and that week was kind of a little bit frantic, trying to keep up with some online remote work that I had, but also tapering my training as well as just packing. No idea how to pack for a trip where I knew I was gonna be gone for 6 weeks. Yeah, it was kind of tricky, but I figured it out and ended up in Spain near the end of April. The first 2 races that I did was a part of the European Sup League, and I wanted to treat those races as warm-ups prior to competing on the Euro Tour that started in May. So I first went to Malaga and competed in Battle for Hercules. I did pretty well at that event. I came 10th in both the tech and the distance race, which I was pretty proud of, just coming off of like a winter season, not really sprinting hard or doing too much anaerobic work. So I was pretty proud of that performance, as well as to when I got to Spain in April, my board was damaged. So I had a lot to deal with, a lot going on there. After that, I went to Melilla for the Spanish National Championships, and it was my first time on the continent of Africa, which I thought was way too cool. But Melilla is an enclave of Spain, so it's still technically Spain. I cannot remember my results, honestly, from the sprint racing and the tech racing, but I just remember that they were performances where I shocked myself. I made mistakes like dropping my paddle or definitely thinking too far ahead before the race was even over. That cost me some positions. But overall, it was the first time in my athletic career where I actually felt like, okay, wow, I can hang with the big girls, you know, like I'm here. I've worked my butt off to be here and I'm doing okay. After Melilla, then it was time to head to Sancti Petri for the first stop of the Euro Tour. And that's where I ended up taking the ferry back to Malaga and then drove all the way to west side of Spain. So I went to Cadiz and met up with Maddi McCasey, my best friend from New Zealand. And we just had a freaking riot. Like the two of us being together for the next 3 weeks after that was just something I think I will honestly cherish for the rest of my life. It was one of those things where I didn't realize in the moment just how grateful I was for her and to be in her presence and in her company and to not do any of these races alone. But looking back, I feel so grateful and so lucky to have had that opportunity to travel with Maddi.